welcome back to Imagine That News. This week's vocab word is indigence, meaning extreme poverty or destitute.
Starting last week, there has been a wave of indigence from the Category 4 Hurricane Fiona that began sweeping through the Atlantic Ocean, starting in the Caribbean area and turning north towards Canada.
The hurricane made landfall in Puerto Rico later that day with maximum sustained speed of 85 miles per hour, also affecting the Dominican Republic and Guadeloupe. Over 65,000 families are reported being affected, and many aid groups and service centers such as the World Food Program, Project Hope, and the Red Cross are acting in this area, providing food, shelter, and water.
More than 1 million people have no electricity nor clean water and are having to deal with up to 30 inches of rain in some places. Joe Biden declared a state of emergency for Puerto Rico because, if you haven't forgotten, Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, and so federal funds will be used for relief efforts.
As it moved north, the damage was most striking in Canada, at Port au Basque, where boulders and debris were scattered across the community. The federal government announced that it would match donations made to the Canadian Red Cross by individuals and corporations to support relief efforts in this region.
Meteorologists are calling this a historical event, as severe hurricane storms are not common in Canada, the last one being a Category 2 tropical cyclone in 2003.
And speaking of historical events, a recent wave of protests has expanded to many as 80 cities in Iran as a result of the recent death of 22-year-old Kurdish woman named Mahsa Amini, who died in detention after being arrested by police.
The men were part of Iran's notorious morality police, enforcers of the conservative Islamic dress, and they reported that Mahsa Amini was improperly dressed, so she was sent to a detention center for re-education. However, 3 days later, she was found dead.
And recently, to be part of the protest, a group of hackers have started taking down Iranian government websites. The website of Iranian presidency, the government-affiliated Fars news agency, and the Forensic Medical Research Center of Iran are among the hacked websites that are currently unavailable.
It's like the 21st century version of protests via the internet and using technology. They ought to coin a new term for the use of technological power in global politics.
Yeah, for sure. And each year, events such as this one, or perhaps the war, COVID, or anything that causes economic, humanitarian, or diplomatic concern are discussed at the United Nations General Assembly.
This year, the Assembly was on September 14th in New York and lasted for 9 working days. The 77th meeting this year has the theme, A Watershed Moment, Transformative Solutions to Interlocking Challenges.
The COVID-19 pandemic and its consequences, the war in Ukraine, a tipping point in climate change, unprecedented humanitarian challenges, and growing concern about the global economy will all be discussed by the 193 member states.
States share the global effects of the pandemic, the war, and the strive for global development. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will use this meeting to call forth a project called Global Accelerator to help ensure global financing to create 400 million jobs and extend social protection to 4 billion people currently without coverage.
He says this will be achieved by investing in job-rich, sustainable, and socially inclusive recovery. And who said globalization was being decreased? I just wish that the interdependence was strong enough to influence global peace wave over this global conflict time right now.
Yeah, and aren't you tired of hearing about it by now? Well, good thing for the next week, we have the leisure of turning our brains off. I think for fall break, I'll be catching up on some college essays and catching some Z's.
Ditto. But I wonder what our classmates will be up to. On to the interview section.
We're here with Emily Burke. Emily, what are you doing over fall break?
I'm gonna go to New Mexico and gonna go spend some time with my grandma, and she's gonna teach me how to make donuts. And where we're gonna go stay actually doesn't have running water, so we have to like pump it out of I forgot what it's called. The windmill, yeah. And then we have to boil it because there's minerals in it. So we're like going off the grid.
Do you have to poop in a shack?
Yeah, there's actually no house. Okay, we're here with Beckett Kershaw. What are you doing over fall break?
For fall break, I am going to the State Fair of Texas, and I'm going to hang out with my family. That's about it, and hopefully sleep.
Have fun sleeping.
We're here with Corn Dog. Corn Dog, what are you doing over fall break?
I'm going to be practicing cooking and working on getting my book published.
What's your book about?
It's my moral and political philosophy, focusing on the
Wow.
Wow, imagine that. See you after fall break.